And welcome into the Dynasty 365 podcast, the Dynasty Fantasy Football podcast for fantasyandframes.com and part of the Fantasy and Frames podcast network, along with Fourth and Frames, our Redraft podcast, Shoot the Gap, our IDP podcast, and the Daily Fix, our DFS podcast. So, as you can tell by the name, we are a Dynasty Fantasy Football podcast, and that is what we aim to discuss every week. This week, I'm joined by my co-host, Bill Mustafa. Bill, how you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. All good. Looking forward to talking about the most divisive position in fantasy football, I think.
Yes, and I think I might have to get just some of your general thoughts on the, let's call it strategy, or just understanding of the running back position in Dynasty. So as the NFL regular season winds down, season-long fantasy playoffs are starting in the next couple weeks. Most of this, I hope your playoffs are starting next week for season-long and redraft, and not this week, because I had some leagues. Yeah, I had some leagues that almost started this week. Didn't go well. But in the offseason, that's when we really start hitting our stride. So please make sure you're subscribing to the Dynasty 365 and the Fantasy and Frames YouTube channel. We're going to have a lot of content coming this offseason. We're going to be doing team cap breakdowns. We're going to talk about players that can be cut, how they're going to have room to operate or create room to operate under the cap. We're going to be doing free agency tracking and team fits. We're going to be doing rookie player profiles. We're going to be coaching changes, all of it. We're going to move on to recording twice a week in the off season. So I'm really excited. We're going to get our team at Fantasy and Frames on it. Charlie Cangelosi, Jorge Edwards, Zach Berger, and of course, myself and Bill Mustafa. So today we are going to be covering some Dynasty running backs. I kind of created a group that has some serious questions.
Yeah, it's an interesting group.
They are at the end of their contract, or they are in weird scenarios. And I just wanted to discuss their ranking and how we feel about them. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right in. And Bill, I'm going to throw it to you first. We're going to discuss our highest ranked running back in this, we'll call it a group, team, whatever you want to call it. And that is Ramondre Stevenson of the New England Patriots, who is currently ranked 12th overall running back on DLF. So that's kind of a bar to judge off of. Bill, how do you feel about that ranking? How do you feel about Ramondre going forward in Dynasty?
I feel like 12 is probably a good spot for him right now. But as soon as the offseason rolls around and we start to look at some of these guys coming out and coming into the NFL next year, I find it hard to place him in that top 12 bracket, which makes him a really difficult player to sort of grade from a dynasty buying point of view right now. He's a guy that in one of my home leagues I'm looking at trying to acquire for the playoffs from a team that's not quite made it, and we just can't seem to agree on where that value lies. I don't like buying guys just for one season or just for one playoff run, and I worry about next season. It looks like Harris has upset Bill Belichick, and he might be on his way out. So then you kind of think, okay, maybe the door's open for Ramondre Stevenson. But this is a Patriots team that we know they like to have 3 or 4 running backs that share the load. We know that Bill Belichick is a coach that you're only one fumble away from sitting on the bench and riding the pine for the next few weeks. Mm-hmm. And all of that worries me. But then you sort of correlate it with, well, look how much work he's getting in the passing game. This is a team that don't necessarily like to go deep a lot or often, even though Matt Jones is pretty good at it, in my opinion. Ramondre Stevenson, I believe, leads the team in receptions, which is crazy. I think that was the case before the Bills game. I'm not sure if it still is. Maybe you can check on the fly. I love a podcast where someone goes, I'll Google that quickly. Let's have a look. But I'm pretty sure that was the stat before the Bills game. He's just a difficult one for me to place a dynasty value on if you're trying to buy. There's so many there's good arguments for both. There's good arguments for why he's a buy and why he's a running back one, and there's so many arguments for why that it's the longevity that you're not going to get from him. So for me, he's difficult to place. I like him for the rest of this season. I like him if you made the playoffs and you're looking for a playoff run, but I just wouldn't go, balls to the wall to try and get him, because we just know what that Patriots backfield's been like historically.
Yes, absolutely. And I pulled up the our lads depth chart for the Patriots from August 1, and it is Damian Harris, who's, you talked about him. He's been injured all year and he's in the doghouse a little bit. Ramondre Stevenson, obviously we're discussing him. James White, forced to medically retire. Pierre Strong, sucks. Ty Montgomery, IR. So it was 4 different players that had to go down or fail for Ramondre to get this kind of opportunity.
Workload. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And moving forward this season, fantastic. You want to start him for your playoffs, but it's just, if you spent a first round pick on him and next season he becomes bench fodder, you're going to be kicking yourself.
Yeah. Belichick's history is scary.
Yeah, we don't like it.
No. So, and we're going to play a little game with all these guys at the end of the show and try to make our own roster. But we'll cover all of them first. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into our next guy, ranked number 14 in running backs on DLF, the Las Vegas Raiders, Josh Jacobs. Currently, I have Jacobs ranked 11th. So I like that value. He's an expiring contract. He's up for a new deal. He had his 5th-year option declined by the Raiders. I think it had a little bit.
They regret that.
Oh yeah, yeah. They're kicking themselves for that for sure. They could have had him under control for a reasonable price for another year. But why did they deny it? I don't know. Maybe they just didn't know him and they didn't feel comfortable making a call on it, and they didn't want to give a running back $10 million. Who knows? The running back market's going to be diminished next year. There's a lot of good running backs coming out in the draft. Obviously, everyone's talking about Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, and there's a ton. Yes. Oh man, I can't wait to get into all these guys in the offseason. I want to, I don't watch a ton of college football in season, but I'll tell you what, man, February rolls around, that is all I'm watching.
Yeah,
is cut ups of college.
As soon as the Super Bowl's over with, I'm like, right, I'm looking. I've got a couple of Patreon accounts that I'm with, and just straight into film. I always go to running backs first as well.
They're the most fun.
Yeah, for sure.
They really are. So as you can tell, folks, we're going to have a lot of good content for you in the offseason, a lot of good opinions on these running backs. But these guys that are coming out are going to diminish the running back market. However, I don't think it is going to diminish the top end of the running back market. And I would say Josh Jacobs, who is the odds-on favorite to be the NFL rushing champ this year, is probably at the top of the market.
Yeah, for sure.
I think him and Saquon are going to get paid. I think everyone else is going to have to be forced to take a little bit of a discount. But I feel good about the Jacobs contract coming up. He's been great this year, flat out. He's been awesome. He's second in the NFL. So I pulled my own stats. I pulled advanced rushing statistics, and I basically took all the running backs that had less than 100 carries out.
Yeah,
I just disqualified them. So of those qualifying running backs, there's 38 of them. Josh Jacobs was second with 2.8 yards after contact per attempt. He was 16th out of 38th in yards before contact per attempt. So he's not getting a lot of push by his offensive line.
Yeah, the O-line not giving him much before contact.
Exactly. And he is earning every single yard he gets. He's second in broken tackles per attempt. He's third in yards per attempt, behind only Tony Pollard and Khalil Herbert. So it doesn't matter what number you look at. Josh Jacobs has been awesome this year. And if we're talking about the 14th ranked running back behind Ramondre Stevenson, who's going to get paid this year, and I would say it's going to be by a team that is probably in contention, I will take that. I'll smash that value of Josh Jacobs being ranked 14. I have him at 11. I'm very happy with it. So do you like that value, or would you kind of pass
Yeah,
on that?
no, for sure. I like that value. I think this has been his best season as a pro. He's looked like such a natural runner. He's looked like one of the best running backs in the NFL. Like finally living up to that potential that he had coming out of Alabama. And I yeah, for sure, man. I think the only one little worry I have is where is he going to end up? Because I don't think the Raiders get anything done. I think that's just they've missed their opportunity. I think Jacobs obviously saw it as a slight, and there's going to be too much competition for his services, in my opinion. So it's a question of where is he going to go, and does it suit us as fantasy players? But there's not many bad spots for him, in my opinion. I don't look anywhere really around the league and go, well, because although he's not done it much for the Raiders, at Alabama, he was a great catcher of the football. He's a versatile weapon for the offense. So yeah, I'm excited for Josh Jacobs. I was out on him at the start of the year, I'll admit, but he's won me back. He's won me back, no doubt.
Nice. And I don't think there can be a bad landing spot for a running back that is going to get $12 million a year.
Yeah, true.
No one is going to pay him that money and be like, yeah, you're a committee back.
Yeah,
I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, as a Bills fan, I don't want to see it, but in that Chiefs offense would be interesting, I think.
Yeah. Well, actually, you know what? Let's kind of let this lead into the Chiefs situation. I don't think the Chiefs are going to go out and get a guy like this. I don't know if the Chiefs are going to sign any free agent running backs of any real value. When you're paying a quarterback $50 million a year, I don't know if you can go out and splurge on these luxury positions like running back when you need to focus on wide receivers and pass rushers.
Protecting him. Yeah.
Offensive tackles, cornerbacks, those high value, high leverage positions. So with that being said, the Chiefs have a guy in their backfield named Isaiah Pacheco that we have on our list as well. And Pacheco right now is ranked 35th on DLF. How do you feel about that value and that ranking? And how do you feel about Pacheco as a player going forward?
I like him as a player. I like the way he runs. He runs hard. He tries to finish every run as well, which is what I like from a running back. And he's not the biggest guy either. The worry, of course, is that he was a late round pick. He's a guy that's easily replaceable. If you take a guy in the first round or the second round, or you pay a guy and he has two so-so games, it kind of is pass and parcel. If you're a guy taking the 6th, 7th round, you become easily replaceable. You become a guy, well, he didn't do it last week. He's not done it this week. Who else we got? Let's give them a go. So that's my worry with him. But as an RB3, I like that value, considering this could be the guy, like you say, that leads the Kansas City Chiefs backfield next year. I like him at that value. Yeah, exactly. And like you say, they pay their quarterback $50 million a year. They've got to get some wide receiver help. They've got to always make sure they're protecting Patrick Mahomes. They've got to get some help rushing the passer. The defense isn't the best, so that is where, from a team building perspective, I'd want to be spending the cap space that we have available is on the other side of the football. I've got a $50 million man throwing the football. You should be able to make some magic happen whilst we go and patch up the defense. And if they've got a serviceable running back, which Pacheco certainly is, why not run with him? So yeah, for that RB3 value, I like that very much.
Yeah, I like him. I don't love him. A lot of his advanced stats aren't great, but I think the important thing on that team is, can he do the little things correctly? Can he be in the right place? Can he pass block? Can he catch the ball when it's necessary?
Well, that's what's going to keep him on the field.
Yeah.
That's what's going to, if he can pass block and if he can, be sure-handed when he's called upon, that will keep him on the field, even if he's not, the most explosive with the ball in his hand as a rusher. And if you're in a PPR league and there's dump down options there and he's picking you up, 7, 8, 9, 10 points a game, not really doing too much that's too flashy, you're going to take that all day long from an RB3 spot.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think we're on the same page there. Do you like the 35th ranking for Pacheco?
Yeah,
I don't know how to pronounce his name.
Pacheco, whatever. I think it's fair. I think it's a fair value for him. Like I said, we could be surprised they could go out and draft another, 4th, 5th round running back who takes over that lead back role. Hell, Melvin Gordon could become the running back one by the time the postseason rolls around, and we all forget Isaiah Pacheco's name. But for the fact that he's leading that backfield at the moment, and you get in the Kansas City Chiefs starting running back at RB3 value, I'll take it.
I like it. Oh man, I don't even want to talk about this next guy because it's so uncomfortable. But I'm gonna go ahead and do it. So Najee Harris of the Pittsburgh Steelers is currently ranked the 16th overall running back on DLF. You know what? If you told me you ranked Najee 10th, I wouldn't be terribly mad at you. If you told me you ranked Najee 28th, I'd be like, yeah, sounds about right. I currently have him as I think it's RB17. He's maybe 18. He's moving around a lot. Yeah. He's only in his second year. He's in a bad offense that's poorly constructed and poorly run by the offensive coordinator of the Steelers. I think they've made some strides in the past couple months with Pickett and just with that offense in general, and figuring out how to use Pickens a little better and just becoming more effective. Doesn't mean they are effective, but they're more effective than they were. So some stats from Najee. He's actually 9th out of the 38 qualifying running backs that I talked about in broken tackles per attempt. So he is breaking tackles. He's 21st out of 38 in yards after contact per attempt. So those don't really match up. It's kind of confusing to me.
I was going to say, that doesn't really correlate, does it?
No, he's breaking tackles, but he's not getting yards.
They're not going anywhere.
Which I think kind of falls back to what we always knew about Najee, is he's an efficient runner. He's really talented. Yeah. He's a great runner. He's really good between the tackles. He's a good pass catcher. He can break tackles. He can make you miss. He's not explosive. He's not that guy that's going to go out.
That's him.
Yeah. He's not going to get 30, 40-yard runs every week. He's just not. He's going to get you on his good plays. He'll get you 10 to 12 yards 4 to 5 times, and you'll be really happy with it. But he's just not explosive.
If the line blocks for 10, he'll get you 10. If the line blocks for 4, he'll get you 4. That's kind of the player he is, and the occasional, we've seen he's got the ability to stiff arm someone into the floor or hurdle someone, which is part of what made me fall in love with him at Alabama, was his ability to, just have these wild plays, sit people down. Like we see it last week, sitting a defender down against the Falcons and picking up some extra yards. But he's never going to be the guy that makes a guy miss and goes for 40 yards. It's just not him. And he's difficult to value in this Pittsburgh Steelers offense, because what do they do well? Nothing really. They don't really do anything well.
No, they don't do much of anything well, and I'm hoping they find a new offensive coordinator and can kind of build on the offseason.
They need to. Matt Canada cannot stay as the offensive coordinator of the Pittsburgh Steelers for one more season. He just can't. I don't understand how if he does, he must have some pictures of Mike Tomlin that Mike Tomlin doesn't want getting out, because there's absolutely no way that dude can be an offensive coordinator of the Pittsburgh Steelers again after just the mess that is their offense this year.
No, you cannot. And I'm sorry if you heard any random noises. That was my 3-year-old sneaking into the room as I was trying to talk about football. So that's always enjoyable.
Well, I mean, she evaded mummy, so she might be able to teach Najee Harris a thing or two.
She did really good. She can break some serious tackles, man. I can't hang on to that girl. So next up is one of my favorites, and I think someone you're pretty excited about, is Khalil Herbert of the Chicago Bears, who's currently ranked 29th on DLF. What say you about Khalil Herbert?
I think Khalil Herbert is the Chicago Bears' number one running back next season. We've seen what David Montgomery can do in that backfield, which look, he's no well beater, David Montgomery, but when he's given the touches, he can be an effective fantasy football player, effective fantasy football scorer. And I believe Khalil Herbert is more talented than David Montgomery. This is a team that has many holes to fill. They need that offensive line fixing. They need some help for Justin Fields down the field. You know, they need some wide receiver help. So I don't see them as being a team that go and spend draft capital on a running back when they have a perfectly good one in Khalil Herbert under contract next year. Whilst David Montgomery is obviously he's going to be a free agent and hit the market as well.
Yes, and he's been awesome. Flat out, he's been one of the best running backs in the league by almost any statistic. And he's tied for third in yards after contact per attempt. He's tied in eighth in broken tackles per attempt. He's tied for sixth in explosive play percentage, which I think I made that stat up. But the way I'm qualifying it is runs of 20 plus yards per attempt and just at a percentage number. And he takes the ball 20 plus yards on 3.7% of his rush attempts. So, that's a pretty good number. One of the only guys who's been more explosive than him this year is Tony Pollard, who's been absolutely insane.
He's a star, Tony Pollard. So there's similar situations where they've got guys in front of them that aren't as good as them.
Yes.
And when they get the chance to lead the backfield, they're going to be awesome. You just hope it happens before that every running back gets it where they just fall off a cliff. They lose the vision or they lose the ability to put their foot in the ground and change direction. If Khalil Herbert still has what we've seen this season and what we've seen of him in the past and can bring that to next season, you're looking at a guy that could well finish as an RB1. He could finish as a top 12 running back if he leads that Chicago Bears backfield. The only worry we might have is the fact that their their quarterback thinks he's a running back and wants to rush for 150 plus yards every game. So how many opportunities is he going to get? Hopefully, Justin Fields realizes that if he wants, a long and successful NFL career, he needs to spend a little bit more time in the pocket and letting some of his playmakers take those big hits. Yes. But yeah, I'm excited for Khalil Herbert for next season. Really excited. And if I can buy him at what they ranking him here as 29th, so a high end RB3 all day long.
Yeah, and I have him as 27, and I don't like it. I want to get him a little higher, but it's hard to put him much higher than that. Like guys that are ahead of him right now, Zeke Elliott, who I think I can put him in front of comfortably. Aaron Jones, who's probably going to be an RB1 next year. If he isn't cut, that depends largely on the Packers situation.
Yeah, what they're doing.
Antonio Gibson, that's a question mark. James Cook, he's really coming on. I'm liking him a lot. I know you are too, as Bill's
very
Mafia.
Very much so. I think it was after the second game or third game this season, we hadn't seen much of him. I made a trade. I got James Cook for Zach Ertz. I was very happy with that.
Wow.
Very, very happy with that. Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I actually have Montgomery over him right now, but a lot of things can change this offseason when we see what happens after free agency and after the draft.
That's the thing, isn't it? And it takes some projecting, it takes some guesswork and some looking at how much money have teams got to play around with, what are they likely to prioritize in free agency and the draft. And I just think for a team that's not ready to, the Bears aren't in a window yet, which, is why it surprised me they gave a pretty high second round pick for Chase Claypool. But anyway, that's another story.
Yeah.
I don't expect them to go and spend capital or worthwhile capital on a running back when they look at Khalil Herbert and go, we've got that guy. That guy can lead our backfield. Whenever he's had to lead the backfield, he's been good at it. He's been a successful NFL running back.
Mm-hmm.
So he's one of the things that if you project and say, right, that is 100% Chicago Bears starting running back next year, you have him in the top 20 in the top 20. You must do. But
Absolutely.
it's having being brave enough to project him as the lead running back in that backfield.
Yeah. Can you do it? I've been holding on to him this entire year. I loved him coming out of Virginia Tech. I have him in a lot of leagues, and I've passed up some pretty good trade offers for him because I believe in him that much to be the RB1 for the Bears next year.
I sold him for a first about a month and a half ago.
See, it's my personal connection to him. Like I just love him as a player and I want to see him succeed so badly. I'd be like, I don't know, can I give up a first? When in reality, like, yes, you take that deal every time.
Yeah, for sure.
And last guy that we're going to discuss is Miles Sanders. He is the 21st ranked running back right now on DLF. Going through my rankings, I'm getting ready to post them back up on Fantasy Pros, but they're not completed yet. I have him as RB18. He's always been explosive. The Eagles are finally using him correctly. He's very efficient this year. I have hopes for Sanders to honestly go back to the Eagles potentially, but I think he can get kind of the Kareem Hunt, Austin Eckler deal where he's pushing around 6.5, 7 million a year to be a 1A in a committee like he is in Philly. And do you think he'll bring that contract in?
I think he can do. If it's difficult because at Philly, I think is his best opportunity to be a productive fantasy football scorer, but seemingly because that O-line is so damn good.
Mm-hmm.
That O-line is so damn good, and if they can play with a lead as they've been awesome this season, then he's going to be able to rack up points. I just worry if he's going to get an offer that he can't turn down somewhere else, and he's becomes a player that is expected to do things without necessarily a top O-line in front of him paving the way. We know he's an explosive player. I was a big fan of him, coming out, and he's a guy that I've looked at and gone, the previous couple of seasons, and I've expected so much and have got back, maybe not quite as much as I wanted. This season, he's impressive. Am I buying into that for the long term? I don't know. I don't know yet. But I have him for the rest of this season ranked, higher than 21. But next season, when we get these new guys coming in, I don't know where he's going to land. Is he going to stay healthy? It's just a lot of question marks around Miles Sanders.
There is. I think I'm willing to take the risk on him because I've believed in him ever since Penn State. But, he's tied for 6th in explosive play rate with Khalil Herbert, the aforementioned Khalil Herbert. He's tied for 15th of 38 in broken tackles per attempt, so above average.
What's he in yards before contact?
He is number 4.
Yeah.
So as you mentioned, their offensive line is very good.
O-line's doing bits for him.
Yeah. So hopefully Sanders can see kind of the writing on the wall, maybe actually take a bit of a discount to stay in Philly.
If he does that, I'm all the way in.
Yeah. And
all the way in if he does
I think it's worth it for the Eagles to go out, go out and pay him not top of the market money, but if they can get him for 5.5 to 6 million a year, when you're still not paying Jalen Hurts hardly any money, I think it's worth it all day because that offense is humming right now.
I agree completely. If they can get him for, it's not highway robbery, but it's a little bit of a hometown discount. If they can get him for that sort of price, then you keep it ticking. Then you just keep the ball rolling with Sanders in the backfield. But I just think they're going to be a team that are well aware that they are eventually going to have to pay Jalen Hurts if he keeps on playing the way he is. They've got a lot of studs on that defense. Just given AJ Brown 20 odd million. There's going to be some players to pay coming up, and do they try and get ahead of it by going rookie at running back, or can they come to a bit of a hometown discount agreement with Miles Sanders? We'll see.
Yeah, we will. Do they believe in Kenny Gainwell? I don't know. I mean, I think they're okay with Boston Scott. Like, they're okay with giving him 5 to 8 carries a game, but like,
Yeah.
he's not going to be their starter.
You don't want either of those two leading your backfield.
No,
Not for my
no,
money,
you
anyway.
don't. So what we're going to do, the 6 running backs we talked about from highest rank to lowest, Ramondre Stevenson, Josh Jacobs, Najee Harris, Miles Sanders, Khalil Herbert, Isaiah Pacheco. So we're going to play a little game. We are each going to get 10 points. And we have to build a running back core of 3 running backs with the points assigned thusly. Ramondre, who's the highest rank, worth 6 points. Jacobs, worth 5. Najee, worth 4. Sanders, worth 3. Herbert, 2. Pacheco, 1. So, would you like to go first, or would you like me to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first.
Okay.
First. So I've got 10 points. I've got to pick 3 running backs.
Yes. I'm curious to see if we pick the same team.
I'm definitely taking Josh Jacobs at 5 points. I'm definitely taking Josh Jacobs. I'm definitely not taking Ramondre Stevenson. I just know next year it's going to go back to a committee and we're going to go, we got hoodwinked by Bill Belichick again. I'm going to go Khalil Herbert because I love Khalil Herbert, and I think he's going to be the lead back in Chicago. So that leaves me 3 points.
Yeah.
So I either take Isaiah Pacheco and have 2 points spare, or I take Miles Sanders and spend all of my 3 points. I'm going to take Miles Sanders. I just think if he does the smart thing and goes back to Philly, it's a no-brainer. And even if he goes somewhere that if he says, no, I'm not taking a hometown discount, I'm going to get what I'm worth, then some team has committed to him by paying him, and he therefore should be the lead back. So, yeah, for my 10 points, I'm going to say Josh Jacobs, Miles Sanders, and Khalil Herbert.
Well, that's unfortunate because that is the same group that I picked. So I agree with you on Ramondre. We're all going to go out and buy Ramondre, and then next year it's going to be some guy that is leading the Patriots in rushing attempts, and Ramondre is in a James White role somehow.
Yeah, that's it. Whichever one of the 17 running backs the Niners cut ends up leading the Patriots in carries for like weeks 4 to 8 for some random reason. I'm just not interested in that Patriots backfield ever.
No,
really. Najee,
it's scary.
He's old.
Yeah,
is he like
it really is.
42-year-old sophomore or something? I don't know how old he is. He's pretty old though.
So actually, Josh Jacobs is 12 days older than Ramondre Stevenson.
That's a surprise.
Yeah, Jacobs is not 25 yet. He's 24.8. Najee is, let's see, he is 2 weeks younger than Ramondre Stevenson. So Ramondre and Najee are old.
And Najee's not finished his sophomore year in the NFL yet. Brilliant.
Right, I love it. And
he's not
Jacobs
getting a second contract, is he?
I don't think he is, man.
No.
But you know what? If he starts out well or finishes the season well this year, man, you got to try to get into that sell window.
Well, I sold him start of the year. I sold him I gave him a 24 first for David Montgomery and a 23 first. And then I flipped Montgomery for another 23 first.
I like it.
Yeah, I wanted to get out on him. Like after week 2, I was like, I don't want to be left holding the bag. I don't want to be left holding a 38-year-old Najee Harris. No one else wants to take him off me. So I got out of that quick.
All right. So before we close this up and sign off, I have a question for you. We discussed trade valuation last week. And, last week was a bit of a bloodbath. And I got hurt real bad in a league where I'm second in scoring. So I have a deal on the table I had Jimmy G as my QB2 in a Superflex league.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Do I trade Jimmy G and Christian Kirk for Jared Goff and Miles Sanders?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Jimmy G's like, where's he going to be next year? I don't know. I think Jared Goff's going to be the Lions quarterback next year. I think they love that dude, and he's played well. You need it. Super flex. You got to have two quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Christian Kirk is going to be wide receiver 2 in Jacksonville next year. They're going to go and get a stud outside receiver. They're going to.
Oh, they already have Calvin Ridley on the roster.
Oh, I forgot about Calvin Ridley. I still think they're going to go and draft him. Because what are you going to do? Run Calvin Ridley and Zay Jones? Like, you're going to go and get one, and Christian Kirk's going to become, that Cole Beasley option in the slot. Yeah, man. I'm especially if you're in that win now window as well. You need to get that quarterback position sorted, and Miles Sanders is just going to keep racking up points behind that stud O-line.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm in a win now window, but I have Breece Hall in my IR, and I'm not willing to sell him.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't blame you for not wanting to sell Breece. If you can, get a guy you can start at running back and fix that quarterback 2 position with a quick trade like that, I'd pull the trigger on that.
All right. Well, everyone, thank you for listening. I appreciate it, Bill. It was a lot of fun, as always. Thank you for joining. Thank you for staying up late over in the UK. It's very much appreciated. And next up, we would typically be recording 4th and Frames. We pushed that to Friday, so we will be getting you ready for Week 14 on Friday. Later this evening, we will have our IDP podcast, Shoot the Gap, on our YouTube channel. And tomorrow, we have our DFS podcast, The Daily Fix, on our YouTube channel, and you can download these podcasts wherever you listen to podcasts. So thank you very much, everyone. I sincerely enjoyed it, and I hope you did as well. Have a good night.